Hey guys, Cam from 15 back out with another video for you guys. Back with the return of one of the best romance shows of last year in the fall. We're here starting off the year 2025 with one of the best romance shows, and that is Blue Box. Blue Box comes finally returned after their 1 week break to prepare for obviously the back half of the season and man. This episode definitely wasn't about Chinatsu or Taiki, but dog, this episode was good. This episode was focused on the side characters, and I really much enjoyed this episode. Yeah, and this episode is really centered around Karen and Haryu, um, and the relationship that they have amongst each other. And in a weird way, Karen is basically kind of helping Taiki out in his relationship, situation with Chinatsu. But the story between Karen and Haryu was really nice, really adorable of how they basically fell in love and everything. So, yes, but anyways, we come back from the break. Chinatsu is basically getting ready to go to her nationals, and her nationals is being taken place in a different city in Japan, so she won't be back for a while. And essentially, she ends up leaving. Taiki's mom's like, "Well, good luck." Taiki ends up catching up with her. He's like, Hey, you forgot this and everything." So this kind of leads into them having a discussion. He sees the ankle bracelet, right? So he's like, "Oh, it hasn't broke yet, even though you've accomplished it." And she's like, "Yeah, no, it hasn't." And it doesn't get awkward, but it's basically kind of the whole thing of like, he wants to tell her good luck, just say good luck. And I'm like, dude, just tell her good luck. But she basically is like, just give me a half five and I'm good and everything, right? So man gives her a half five. Obviously, he's wishing her the best and everything. And the way he also says it, I thought it was also funny because she's like, "You're kind of a flirt." And he's like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "I'm not doing none of this crap. I'm not trying to flirt with you or anything." But I found that absolutely hilarious, you know, where he just said like all of this nice stuff. He said this nice thing, and the first thing she goes on to say is, I didn't know you were honestly a flirt, but okay." And I'm just like, okay, what? Now, again, remember from the last episode, um, she thinks that he's lying to her about his relationship with Hina and everything, and the fact that they might be together or something like that. I don't know what the heck that was. But anyways, but you get my point, right? So funny enough, they actually bring it up in this episode because Taiki's friend is like, "Hey, just to let you know, apparently I heard from the Battle Girls, especially Chinatsu's friend, that they saw you with Hina at the festival, and I'm guessing Chinatsu must have saw you. So my best guess is she must have gotten the wrong idea, thinking that you guys were on a date or something." And then that's when Taiki's remembers, like, oh, when he told her, like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to the festival in a group." And then he's like, "Oh my goodness, she probably hates me, and she probably thinks I'm lying to her and everything." And he's like, "Well, when she gets back, we'll have to tell her that it was all a fake." And the thing is, like, I don't understand why you just can't, like, when you get home, you just can't pick up the phone, call her, and be like, "Hey, there's nothing going on between me and Hina. Apparently, my friend told me that, you and your group at the festival saw us, but I found that funny." And the boy's like, "Huh?" Hina ends up bumping into Taiki by accident, but she kind of pays no mind. She's like, "Oh, sorry," but she's more focused on her gymnastics stuff for nationals, right? Now, again, I don't know if she did that intentionally because she may have overheard them talking about Chinatsu, and she just, on purpose, you know, kind of nudged him in the shoulder, saying like, "Stop talking about another girl. That's not me," right? So that's the thing there, right? Anyways, they're watching Haru, because he's preparing for his nationals and everything, and basically, he's taking on all these people, and he's getting very like into the moment and everything. So there is that everything. So anyways, there's this the next day happens, and it's the day of Haryu's it's the day of Haryu's nationals. So he's looking around and everything, and he's just preparing and everything. Taiki's also there. He also ends up seeing the guy that ended up beating him in the tournament a few episodes ago, right? And it only, strives him to go further and try to get better and everything. But he actually ends up running into Haryu's girlfriend, Karen, and she looked really nice. The outfit she was wearing, she looked really nice in. What else can I say? And Taiki's obviously shocked and everything. He's like, Karen, what are you doing here? And she's like, I'm here to support, Haruyu in his nationals, match, right? And she's like, oh, actually, she's on the phone. Would you like to talk to her? And then he's like, wait, what? And then he's like, yeah, sure. And then he calls. Now, we don't know if she was actually on the phone. I'm guessing it must have been a prank by Karen because she wanted to get some more information out of Taiki because she's like, oh, must suck to have your crush hang up on you like that, huh? And he's like, yeah, I know. And then he's like, huh? Wait, what? And then and and then she's like, and it's funny because he's like, wait, how'd you know she was my crush? And he's like, and she's just like, well, you just confirmed it, so nothing else to say right then and there. Because remember, we saw Karen in the festival episode, the last episode, right? And she clearly saw that Taiki and Chinatsu were together, right? And she's like, huh, interesting, because she ended up right, she ended up finding obviously Haryu, and she's like, I kind of saw something very interesting. So you could clearly tell, like, okay, she knows what's up, and then plus she's had her own side conversation because we even saw in that episode where she had that side conversation with Chinatsu about living with Taiki, and basically Chinatsu basically came on to confirm like she could see herself dating Taiki. So you get this funny thing. So now she's got the whole thing. So one, she knows that Shinatsu clearly has feelings for our boy Taiki, and and also too, she does know that okay, yeah, this boy does like Shinatsu back. Okay, so that's the thing. Anyways, she goes on to give him some more questions. She's like, so how long have you liked her and everything? And basically he kind of is like, well, I've liked her for a while, but that's basically all there is to it. She asks she asks so what's she like at home, and he basically does all the same compliments and everything. She's like, well, and everything. So there's that. But anyways, we then end up getting into obviously they end up finding Haryu, and Haryu's just like, wait, what are you doing here? And then basically, she's like, well, I'm here to support you and cheer you on, so good luck out there, right? So he's like, oh, okay, I'll do my best out there. So, as the match is going on and everything, we do get some backstory about Haryu and Karen and how they basically came to become in a relationship because she not only tells Taiki this at first to give a little bit of a hint, but I'll talk more about the full backstory because Haryu is obviously going through the ranks of nationals. He's going up against his rival that he has yet to beat, right? And he's having some trouble and everything, obviously. So he looks up, he sees obviously Karen and Taiki, and he sees that obviously his girlfriend is worried, and it only fuels him to want to get better and put a show on for her. And in the meantime, he's monologuing how basically, through all this time that they've known each other. So now Karen ended up telling Taiki that they basically met in 5th grade. And essentially what happened was, they met in 5th grade, and she was a new student in their swimming class or whatever, right? And, obviously everybody's like, oh, she looks really cute and everything and stuff like that. So the funny part is she couldn't swim for shit, right? She couldn't swim. And basically Haru was like, look, if you can't swim, well then, I don't know what else you need to do. Like, you might as well just give up and just stop making a fool of yourself. He basically was like, I don't want to see you embarrass yourself, so you might as well just stop this and do something else. So as he's about to get out the pool again, she grabs him. She's like, well then, can you show me, right? And at first I was thinking like, oh, are they gonna go the route where he was always being a little bit mean to her, and she would just fire back? She's like, why are you being so mean? But and then that's kind of the thing where, she saw him do all these good things, and that's why she fell for him. No, but realistically, it was not like that. It was the difference of like, even though he said kind of some harsh things, if you got to be honest, like he said some pretty rude things. She's like, well, can you show me how to swim, right? And essentially what we find out is like, she started to get better and everything, and she could learn how to swim efficiently. But eventually she ended up leaving the class, and that was for intents and purposes like the last few times that they realistically saw each other. But then they came across each other again, and the thing is they went to different schools and they also talked and everything, and they got to talk a lot more and stuff like that. So that's the thing. So that's the thing. And then also too, it's because she talks about like she showed up because she had enough free time in her schedule because she obviously works a job now. um Correct me, again, people correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but it looks like she might have been in a grade older than I forgot if they made the mention the last few episodes or when she first showed up. But I it made it sound as if she was in a grade higher than he was. So she's already working and everything, unless she's already in college and everything in their busy lives, right? So essentially, what ended up happening is, and this is what Karen made a mention of, like, well, we're trying to make our relationship work. And they bring up the whole fact of like, they obviously have their own obligations, their own personal lives. So especially with the fact like they don't live really together and everything. And she's obviously got her job. He's obviously got his badminton stuff because he's still in school. And, you just see like, okay, there's some difficulties, and it's kind of like the whole thing of like they're saying like, well, we're gonna make it work the best way we can, and if things just don't work out, well, then we'll just go our separate ways and everything. But when I was watching this episode, you genuinely see the sense like, even if it were to come to that, I don't think they would both do that, because it's clear that they both love each other dearly, and it's clear that they both mean a lot to each other, because Haryu was, there for her every step of the way and everything as they were friends. And it also seems like she does like some sort of modeling gig too, because it looked like we saw her in a magazine, so she might just be like a model or something. That's what Aubrey probably, is the whole thing of like, hey, that's probably why, it's rare for me to see him participate in these badminton, contests, because I'm always working, and probably because she's a model, because in the episode it looked like it showed her in a magazine, like on the cover of a magazine, so she might be like a model and everything, probably why she looks so attractive, right? And essentially she goes on to talk about how she kind of had this difficult thing going on in her life about her job and everything, and she was wondering what it is, what was happening, and she just was really depressed and everything. So Haru basically is like, okay, can I talk to you? So he ends up actually waiting outside of her building. He's like, hey, come outside. And she's like, wait, what are you doing here? He's like, well, since you're so down and everything, I thought I would give you this book I made from, like, I think he said the second grade or whatever. Hopefully that will cheer you up and everything, to make sure that you're not, being all depressed and being put down in a bad mindset and everything, right? Excuse me. And essentially, this gets her, so emotional that obviously this dude just came out to just check up on her and see if she was okay. And essentially, she just hugs him. He's shocked by this and everything. And obviously, she's questioning. She's like, why would you do all this, basically? Your typical romance anime where she's like, why would you do all this for me and everything? And obviously, it's clear that, like, look, dude, if you're going over to a girl's place, when she's down in the dumps and everything, and it doesn't matter if you're just a friend, like, clearly you care more than just a friend reasoning as to why showing up. So, She basically told Taiki, yeah, at that moment, I confessed my feelings to him. And it was funny because as was going through that whole thing, she confessed his feelings. And the moment they cut back to the present, right? This man Taiki puts like one of the funniest faces. He's like, what? Which was absolutely hilarious, right? But she goes on to say about she goes on to talk about that's how they got together. And basically from that confession, they started dating and they started seeing each other. And it's basically kind of this like wait and see approach of like, okay, we'll go through the trials and tribulation of a relationship. If things don't end up working out because of our schedules, well then, you know, we'll still be friends, but it's probably best that we're not working this out. But it's clear that it doesn't matter if things wouldn't work out. They would find ways to try to make it work sometimes. And it feels like, after watching this episode, like, legitimately, like, especially when you see Haryu, he finally gets a set and wins a set against his rival, right? And at this point, he's obviously doing this for himself, but he wants to do this to show off selfishly to his girl and show like, hey, I'm really good and everything. And obviously he's hearing their cheers and everything, and it's only inspiring him to win. And legitimately, I'm watching the episode, I'm like, holy shit, he's gonna win. He's gonna finally beat the rival he's never beaten. And it's gonna be because of the inspiration he got from his girlfriend. Yeah, you would think you would get that, right? No, you don't get that shit. And he ended up losing again. He ended up losing yet again. I was like, God damn it! I thought the anime was gonna pull the trigger and they're gonna have him win with his girlfriend in attendance and everything. I hate when animes do that, when they look like they're gonna freaking think like, oh, they're gonna do it, and then they don't do it. Like sometimes it's like, and I get it. Sometimes in some animes, you think, oh, main character is gonna freaking beat this character, but then they end up not doing it, right? Now I do like that if that's the case of main character. We know Haru's a side character, right? And it's like I really would have liked to see him beat him this time because I think they said in the episode like it was gonna be like the last time they ever faced each other again because he was gonna go off to college, right? And everything, and you can clearly tell that he did all that and he's obviously blue and he's upset and he's down and everything because he not only did he lose, he lost in front of his girlfriend, and he feels in a way where it's like, well, it was bad enough that I lost, but I lost my girlfriend in attendance. She probably thinks like I'm a joke now, right? And he's like, look, I'm gonna go off to get a run, go off and get a run. And I think you could tell, like, I think Karen could tell, like, okay, I think it's clear he needed to go cool. He needed to cool off and just get the mindset out of his head. And she's okay with that because she could tell like he's probably upset about the upset about everything that's going on. So what then also happens is we also do get a conversation, which it's basically was Karen saying like, oh yeah, about your whole thing with Chinatsu, don't worry about like the big picture and the small little things of what she may think differently, because she asked him, because she literally asked him like, so when you gonna like tell her about your feelings and everything. And he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it, but I'll do it at some point. I just don't want to make things awkward if I tell her that I like her and then she rejects me and then we're living in the same household and things just become awkward to us. And it's kind of the same thing Karen was telling Shinatsu a little bit, what we saw in their little conversation in the diner. But she straight up tells Taiki, she's like, look, dude, like, don't sweat the small stuff. Like it's not, don't make this like such a big deal. Like, if anything, if you're doing that, well, then that's only gonna make her probably not really like you back or anything, right? And she's basically telling him, like, look, you can't really, like, just be yourself. Like, don't be somebody you're not. Don't try to hide things and keep things and lie to somebody, like at some point, like, tell her if you like her or something. And if she doesn't say that she doesn't like you, well then okay, don't make it awkward. Like, the least you can do is if she does reject you, don't make it awkward. Just go across and still be friends. It's not like you guys can't be friends or anything, right? And that's what she basically told him, which it's honestly a nice thing that Taiki needed here, because it's not only going to give him probably more confidence to have the courage to essentially make the decision and like, am I gonna ask if I'm gonna tell her I'm gonna like her, and like, you know, even if she does reject me, I don't want to make sure that I don't make things awkward between us. So a nice whole thing, and then you get a nice sweet moment to where, you know, Haryu's running. He actually runs into Karen, and Karen's like, "Hey, you want this to eat?" and everything. So he takes a nice little bit. She's like, "Well, I'm gonna have to leave and everything." So, you know, it's really cool. It was really fun, and it was really cool to see you, you know, do it. And you get this nice moment to where, as she's walking away, he basically gives her the hug, and he puts his head right there on her shoulder, and essentially, you know, he's like, I'm gonna keep winning no matter what, and I won't lose again, and stuff like that. And it was a very sweet thing, and he obviously thanked her for coming out and everything and supporting her. And then you get this funny thing. She's like, "Oh, get off me! You're all sweaty and everything." He's like, "What?" That's the funny thing, because too, I was like watching. I'm like, isn't she gonna just talk about maybe he smells or the fact that he's all sweaty or something? And yes, she brought that whole situation up, and he's like, "What the hell, what?" So you get that moment. You can clearly tell, like, even like you can clearly tell that even though they said like they quote unquote made this relationship happen and out of the blue, and they kind of had this whole thing like, well, if things don't work out, well, then we'll just break off our relationship. You can clearly tell like they would not break up just to break up for any reason like that. If they were to break up, it would actually be for a legit reason to break up. But after seeing this, like, they could cut like 10 years into the future after this story is over, because I realistically think like Blue Box could be like a one and done season, and that's it. But if they were like, you know, cut to like 10 years later, I could see that where Haru and Karen are like married and together, right? And I really did enjoy this episode. I really did enjoy this episode. You not only get a focus on a relationship other than Chinatsu and Taiki, and really just Karen, kind of from what you saw in the last two episodes, progressing our two main characters to basically be like, hey, snap out of it, bro. If you guys like each other, well, then just go for it. Like, in a weird way, it's kind of the whole thing like of Karen just like not putting her feelings away to the side, just, you know, not hiding them anymore. And when Taiki, when Haryu was there and probably one of her darker moments, you know, he was there for her, and then she just like, no, I really like you. You know, I'm in love with you, right? So maybe that's a foreshadowing. Maybe it's a foreshadowing to what we could get here with Chinatsu and Taiki. Maybe, plot twist, we get it to where Chinatsu loses, maybe in the championship round of the Nationals tournament she's in, and she's down in the dumps and everything. And also it could be the whole aspect of it's not only that, but also too, maybe the bothering effect of like the whole Taiki Hina relationship whole thing being unsure of, like, because we saw it in the last episode how she was kind of a little bit unfocused in her practice because of Taiki and Hina, and the fact that she thinks like they might be an item, right? Maybe her losing could potentially do it, and that could maybe lead to a thing where you're like, well, you made me feel like this and everything. If you just had told me like, you know, you and Hina were a thing, you know, that's the whole thing. And I feel like if that ever were to come, that would be after the moment where Hina and Taiki have that one moment, and that's when Taiki basically rejects Hina, which you already know is going to happen at some point, where he's gonna like, sorry, but I don't like you. You mean a lot to me, but I like Chinatsu, right? It's gonna be the whole like Rem moment, like, I love you, I like you, Rem, but I love Amelia. You already know that's what's going to happen, especially in the trailer. Also too, they don't give it away, but you see a moment where it looks like, oh, we're going to get the rejection scene with Taiki and Hina. But, you know, I really did enjoy this episode, and what the hell is happening and stuff like that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I did love this episode. It was nice to see another focus on another relationship other than Taiki and Chinatsu. Just seeing the relationship between how Karen and Haru grew, you know, it was nice. It was nice. And they're great characters. You know, again, you know, I remember when I first started reviewing, like, I thought Haru would be like the dick character that was completely, you know, going to show up the main character to try to win Chinatsu's heart. But, you know, The dude is, again, as the weeks I started to watch, I'm like, no, this dude's a genuinely good guy. And the fact that, like, he's not only a genuinely good guy in his own ways, he's got a loving girlfriend that clearly cares about him, and he obviously cares about her too. But regardless, I don't know where next week's gonna go, but I'm very excited. I wonder if we're gonna cut over to Chinatsu and see how she's doing in her tournament and her nationals thing and stuff like that. So yeah, and also I forgot to make a mention, the opening and the endings are really dang good for Blue Box. Um, really freaking good. And again, the opening, it has the whole like diatribe or the whole thing of like Chinatsu and Hina in the freaking, opening, obviously like the poster, like you see in the poster, right? And it's just like, oh, this man Taiki's gonna have to make a decision. Does he want to be with more? Is it gonna be Chinatsu or is it gonna be Hina? So, that's the whole thing, right? So that's why I feel like this is gonna wrap up. This series is gonna wrap up, and I think at the ending, I think in the ending part of the opening, I think they actually do an homage to the manga when they're like kind of back to back with each other and everything. So yeah, but anyways, really good episode from Blue Box today and things like that. Funny enough, if I would have reviewed this show earlier in the afternoon, but I got called into work and I realized, oh shit, I gotta go back to work today. So there's that. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Catch you guys next video. I'll be back with more Blue Box content next week and things like that. But till then, guys, stay safe out there and have a great rest of your day or night and check this video. Till then, guys, peace.